personally by name, but we now know it was you. Let's just play a clip of this and see what your reaction is.
Well, actually, the president's charge of a $5 trillion tax cut is obviously inaccurate and wrong, because what he says is, all right, let's look at all the rates you're lowering, and then he ignores the fact that I say we're also going to limit deductions and credits and exemptions. He ignores that part. Obviously, that was corrected by his deputy campaign manager, who said that she stipulated that, in fact, the $5 trillion number was wrong. It's completely wrong.
Right, so he's talking about you there, Stephanie. Stephanie says that you said it was wrong.
That's right. Right. Piers, I'm really glad you brought that up. So there's this thing called math. And here are Mitt Romney's tax cuts. And if you add up the lowering the tax rate by 20%, eliminating the alternative minimum tax, repealing the high-income payroll, repealing the estate tax, and lowering taxes for corporations, that totals $5 trillion. So that's Mitt Romney's tax cut. It costs $5 trillion. Now, is he going to close loopholes and deductions that he won't name for those at the top? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. There's still not one economist in this country that can point to, yes, he can close loopholes and deductions for those at the very top, and that will add up to $5 trillion, because it doesn't. There aren't enough loopholes and deductions to equal $5 trillion. So there's still going to be a gap there. Now, how do you pay for that gap? You can either just add it to the deficit, or you can close deductions and loopholes for middle-class families. And that's the mortgage deduction, that's the child deduction, charitable deduction, and that's been estimated to be about $2,000 for middle-class families. That's the math. So he's taking my words out of context. It is a $5 trillion tax cut that he cannot pay for.
Let's just clarify two things there. One is, did you say that it was wrong? Is he right when he says that?
No, what I said, Piers, was the total of his tax cuts cost $5 trillion. Now, if he's going to close loopholes and deductions, well, that cost will be lowered. But it's not going to be lowered enough for this thing to be totally paid for. The only way to do that is to close deductions for middle-class families.
This is quite important.
Yes, he's wrong.
No, but it's quite important because
he's wrong.
Okay, well, let's discuss how he's wrong, because what he says is, when the president keeps saying, as he did in that debate, it's a $5 trillion tax cut, you are already conceding that it's quite likely that he is going to, as he says, eliminate some credits and exemptions. You don't think it may be $5 trillion, but it might be $1 trillion, it might be $2 trillion, whatever it is. You've already indicated, again, that you don't really believe it'll be a $5 trillion tax cut.
No, what I've indicated was he has a $5 trillion tax cut. He hasn't told us how he's going to pay for it. The only thing he has said is that he is going to close deductions and loopholes for those at the upper end. Now, if you do the math on that, there aren't enough loopholes and deductions that equal $5 trillion.
No, I understand
so that money has to come from someplace else.
Stephanie, I understand that, but of course...
No, so he's asking us to just trust him, that that's what he's going to do. But, even if we trust him, there's no mathematical way, no mathematical possibility for him to come up with enough deductions and loopholes to equal $5 trillion. It's just not possible. So either he's being dishonest about his tax cut, or he just doesn't get it.
So he is lying, you think?
I don't think he's being honest about his tax cut. I watched from the sidelines the Republican primary, and even on a CNN debate, he said, we're going to lower taxes for everybody, even those at the top. Even those at the top are going to get a tax cut. He said that. And now he's saying, no, there's no tax cut. So which is it?
Well, we shall find out, no doubt, Stephanie Cutter. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Piers.
Joining me now from the Romney camp is Senior Campaign Advisor Dan